Welcome to episode 11 of 22 Man Game with Jared and Dame. I'm Jared, that's Dame, and it is 8:47 on a cool autumn night, October 7th, 2025. Damon, how do we find you on this pre-Hallows Eve?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. You say cool. It is 90 degrees outside. It feels like still every day when I go to work and when I come home from work. So, cool is not the term I would have used, but I'm feeling pretty good, I guess. Nothing to complain about at this moment. I'm sure if I thought really hard, I could find something, but for now we're cruising. How about yourself?
Yeah, I was throwing around in my head, should I say crisp? And it's really not crisp in Texas until late November, early December. So to me, cool was the best I could do. I'm doing all right. Had a pretty chill weekend and just been having fun jamming some video games. Ready to really dive into the meat of my, I guess, work week starts on Wednesday. So
Mm,
that'll be exciting.
sure,
And
Sunday.
it was pretty much, yeah, I've got the Tuesday terrors as opposed to the Sunday scaries, I suppose.
Mm, good, good.
Thank you. Thank you. I very pleased with that. We will actually go ahead and end the podcast now.
Thank you for
That's the
tuning in.
peak.
This has been great.
Yeah, there will be games next week. There were games last week. Please remember that fun alliterative joke. And yeah, like and subscribe. You got to put your arms up so I could kick the field goal.
Thank
No,
you.
I kid. Uh, do you want to just go ahead and jump right into some of the news here?
Yeah, I'm on the edge of the diving board. I'm ready to dive right in. Let's go.
Sweet. Will you take this first item? Because I think you know more about this one than I do.
Yeah, so apparently a report came out. Buccaneers running back coach Skip Peete had a medical episode, is what they quoted it as, at practice sometime last week. Ended up getting transported to the hospital. Players were down on the knee, as they often are for injured players during the game. And then everything a couple of days later was reported to be fine. He ended up traveling with the team to Seattle for their game. So everything appears to be good there. I from what I was reading, so they didn't, it's just private medical information of a personnel coach. I imagine they didn't want to just put it out there. The theories are like dehydration and stuff like that, which when you're
Hmm.
practicing
Hmm.
in Tampa Bay makes sense to me. So glad he's feeling better and could still be with the team, and everything sounds okay.
Yeah, I feel like when it's a head coach who has something like this happen on the sideline, we typically hear a little more about it. So maybe partly because it's a position coach and partly because maybe it didn't end up being too serious. Fortunately, yeah, not a ton of detail that I saw either, but glad that he is doing well. And you always kind of worry for the coaches, knowing the culture of the NFL is so built around don't go home, keep working through the night, all that stuff. You want to make sure everyone's taking care of themselves, but if he was able to travel, it sounds like he's in good shape.
What a great name.
Uh, oh, I was thinking that as well. Skip Pete feels like it fits in just about every context. Sailor, 40s cartoon character.
I was gonna say it feels
Um,
old timey. It feels like this is the 50s football.
yeah, it's David Bing and Skip Pete
There you
could have
go.
played together. That's what it sounds like. But no, I my first thought was awesome name, but I didn't want that to be the first thing I said about it. But I was definitely
Right.
like, "Yeah, that is a great name." Uh, let's move to our other kind of piece of difficult news this week. Former Jets quarterback and Fox commentator Mark Sanchez got into an altercation with a truck driver in which he was stabbed and went to the hospital. The initial reporting didn't make it clear whether Sanchez was an initiator, an alleged initiator or not. And so I think there was a lot of a sort of responding as though he were sort of victimized. But now he has been charged with misdemeanor battery. And then the battery was later upgraded to a felony due to him causing serious bodily injury. The person, the other side of this altercation, the driver was a 69-year-old man. Um, Mark Sanchez is young and obviously a former professional athlete, and so it's hard to imagine a situation where he was placed in genuine danger that would require him to engage a physical altercation with someone who's, probably 30 years his senior. So definitely,
He is
definitely
38, so
not.
right above 30
He's
years. Yeah.
38. Yeah, so this is pretty difficult, obviously with intoxication involved, and I expect that Fox will probably let go of him as a commentator. And yeah, well, I guess we'll see how the situation develops, but
Yeah, apparently
definitely.
he was in Indiana for the game that he obviously did not end up calling because this happened the night before. Publicly intoxicated, like you mentioned, and the report I read, the 69-year-old you mentioned, Mark Sanchez was basically just like charging at him and yelling at him, and he pepper sprayed him,
Mhm.
and then Mark Sanchez just kept going, and apparently like threw him into the dumpster. It was like a whole thing. So there's some hotel surveillance footage, I think, that kind of flipped it on Mark Sanchez. Like, actually, you're the bad one in this. So glad that the truth came to light and that he seems like he's going to recover. So that's good.
Yeah, I I definitely think it's good that the both parties will be able to recover, but certainly career altering for Sanchez, and I expect there's a long road. I heard that his charge carries potential prison time as well. So
Hmm.
that would be a pretty significant obstacle to him returning to professional life there. And I think we've seen a few select cases of announcers who have gotten in some manner of kind of legal or professional trouble who maybe work their way up through kind of like smaller games or leagues and then eventually find their way back to the booth. But uh, with a well-documented violent crime like this, difficult to imagine. Hopefully, Sanchez puts himself on the right path wherever that ends up taking him, if the allegations are indeed true. So, one more little bit of news before we jump in. Current free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., obviously one of the bigger names of the kind of early mid 2010s at receiver. Currently, again, unsigned, received a 6 week suspension for performance enhancing drugs that he has chosen to just accept, which means that if he wanted to sign to a team, the earliest he'd be able to play would be week 12 for that club. So he's effectively serving that suspension now as a free agent, such that if he wanted to return late in the season, he could. I feel like there is enough wide receiver talent in the league that I don't see OBJ providing like a massive spark to a roster at this point in his career, but um, he does have a lot of name recognition, so that doesn't mean he won't come back.
Yeah, I think if this were like year one of him being out of the league, but I feel like this is like the third or fourth year in a row this has kind of happened, where it's like, guys, I'm sitting around still, like who wants me? And I feel like we're kind of over it at this point. But
Yeah, I think he had that big contract with the Ravens that didn't really pan out at all, and that sort of push, Super Bowl push with the Rams, I feel like was maybe the last big thing we'll see from his career. Unfortunately, I feel like some of his prime sort of was cut short, and I wonder what his Hall of Fame case will look like. I feel like he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory, but I don't know if the rest of his career has borne that out
I think it was
after those
cut too
first few
short.
years in New York. Yeah, I agree too. I think, especially in an era with so many good wide receivers, and the fact that I think there are probably 4 or 5 receivers currently playing that when they retire will have a strong case, depending on the remainder of their career. I'll knock on my desk here, but Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, I think Puka has a good shot. Um, Mike Evans, I think, should be probably a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there are a couple other players who, depending on their performance, could get there. So I think it's just going to be an uphill battle for wide receiver. And with his career cut a little short, not a great situation there. But that's all we've got for news that is not tied to the teams themselves and their play on the field or the situation surrounding their games. So let's get into our Week 5 recap, shall we?
Let's do it. Yeah, to kick it off with this thing I saw, there have been 17 games with a go-ahead score in the final minute of regulation this season, the most in the first 5 weeks of an NFL season since the merger all the way back in 1970. So, lots of close games coming down to the wire here, and I can't help but notice that this aligns with us starting 22-man game. Coincidence? Maybe. Correlation? Perhaps.
I think that the league knows that our product will be better the more intense the games are, and is making sure that the teams are aware as well that the quality of our product is ultimately the most important aspect of any game. So it's great to see the league has kind of conformed to that expectation, and you're welcome, listeners. Like and subscribe for more one score games.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Go ahead. Why don't you kick us off with your wheel game? Commanders
Yeah.
were your team, right? Or was it the Chargers? I don't
Yes.
remember.
It was the Commanders. We still have not
Okay.
had an AFC team yet. So this game, Commanders 27, Chargers 10. I did not watch this one live just because it ran concurrent with the Lions game. So I actually went back and watched today. I wanted to kind of get a look at how the both teams performed, especially you had mentioned in our document here. Didn't the Chargers start this game 10 with 10-0 lead, and then Commanders obviously scoring 27 unanswered? And yeah, that's exactly what happened. The Chargers were in complete control of this game early. They were able to get down into the red zone, forced to kick a field goal, penalty on cornerback for the Commanders, Sandra Still, who jumps the line early on the field goal attempt. That gives them a fresh set of downs, and they're able to score a touchdown on that first drive, put up a field goal on the next drive, and they just have a ton of momentum. And I think the momentum just completely flipped on them. They were charging down the field. Quentin Johnson has a forced fumble. I don't think it was necessarily a bad by him so much as maybe it was just a good play by the defender. He didn't like trip and stumble and like
Hmm.
lose the ball that way. It was knocked out of his grasp, right? From there, Commanders are able to charge down. They score. Now it's 10-7. Commanders, I think the Chargers have to punt. Commanders are punting out of their own end zone. They punt. Lad McConkey fields the punt, gets to the sideline untouched, returns the punt. I believe it's the punter diving at his feet and he leaps over the last player trying to tackle him to run into the end zone for a score, which put the Chargers up 17-7 with a negligible amount of time on the clock before half. And there was a roughing the punter penalty that reset downs for Washington. They follow that up with a massive Luke McCaffrey strike, and then they are able to kick a field goal after one more completion. This was a great throw to McCaffrey. It was exactly 50-yard bomb, and he just put it right out in front of him in a place where the defender wasn't quite able to reach it. Just a drop in the bucket. McCaffrey extended, made the catch. And so instead of a situation where the Chargers are up 17-7, or if they don't have the fumble 17-0, they go into the half 10-10. And the O line was banged up even more than just the two tackles. Their right guard, or I actually think, sorry, reserve right tackle Trey Pipkins has to come out. Mekhi Becton, one of their guards, has to like come in and out at certain points, and so they're just really banged up there. In the fourth quarter, O'Marion Hampton, who's getting the bulk of the catches, left with an ankle injury and now has been placed on IR, and so will miss at least 4 weeks. The broadcast had an insane Chargers stat. How many interceptions do you think Justin Herbert has in the last 3 games? This is like a
Zero.
relatively normal number. This is so he had 4 in the last 3 games, which isn't great, but it's not like a terrifying number. How many interceptions do you think Justin Herbert had last season?
9.
3. He had
Great.
3 picks last season. And in the
Wow.
last 3 games, he had 4. And they were
3 picks in
talking
a whole
about
season is nuts.
it's insane. And I think part of it, they were talking about on the broadcast how their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, is so run heavy that this year they're using Herbert much, much more than a normal Roman offense. They're throwing a lot more. And so it might be part of that, but also the fact that he went from 3 in 1 season to 4 in the last 3 games. Pretty astonishing. He only had 1 in this game, but it was an end zone pick by Sainristil, literally at the goal line. He just kind of like he has the pass deflected and then it just falls into Sainristil's hands. And that really continues to just crush the Chargers' momentum. Let me talk about the Commanders a little bit more. I mentioned the McCaffrey catch. They were down their top two wide receivers, Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown. Didn't really matter for them. They were able to move the ball with a lot of kind of the screen game, sort of allowing the speed of Krosky Merritt. Their running back goes by Bill, Corey Krosky Merritt. I don't know where the bill came from, but he had 100 plus yards. He did have a lost fumble, but the ensuing drive resulted in that interception, if I'm recalling correctly. So all's well that ends well there. He looked quick. Debo looked quick, elusive as well. And so they were just able to kind of gash the Chargers, who didn't really have a significant response. It felt like to me in the first half, the blocking was doing a lot of the work in getting Bill some nice runs, and then in the second half, we saw a little bit more of his shiftiness, evading tackles there. And there were a couple moments where just kind of guys out in the open field getting beat. He had two touchdowns just running clean on the outside, on the left side of that line, sort of in the red zone area. And so he was a definite weapon. Defensive line was kind of crashing the Chargers O line all game. Obviously, multiple injuries on the line with both Joe All out with his ankle sprain and then the season ender for their left tackle, Rashawn Slater. So I wasn't like, wow, it was a 10 sack game, but there were not a lot of places the Chargers could go. Oftentimes, Herbert throwing under a lot of pressure, running backs often getting stopped at the line of scrimmage. Von Miller was consistently disruptive. Dorrance Armstrong, I believe, racked up a sack as well. And yeah, just a really complete performance. I will say if the Chargers didn't have some of their turnover miscues or that costly penalty, I think we might look at this game differently. But the Chargers sort of tripping over themselves a few times allowed the Commanders to overcome a slow start and eventually just pull away. The game was 20-10 until the last minute, but the Commanders were charging down the field in those last few minutes, burning clock anyway. And despite the Chargers having a huge time of possession lead going into the fourth, the Commanders were just able to milk the clock there. At the end, Daniels, I think, found himself later in the game. And yeah, I don't know if I'm willing to walk away from this and say, oh, the Commanders are like for sure a top three team in the NFC because they smoked the Chargers. I think a few things went their way in the turnover area and the penalty area. If they are able to clean up a few of their own mistakes or get off to a faster start, such that they're not playing down 10-0, I would feel a lot better about saying, oh yeah, this team is super competitive. But if they kind of tighten tighten up some of those issues and play like they did in the second half, I think they're a pretty good team.
Yeah. An interesting game. I feel like the final score tells a story of a game that wasn't that close, but with the Chargers starting off that early lead, you would think it's crazy that the Commanders scored 27 unanswered. Weird. Yeah, those offensive line issues are going to continue to plague the Chargers, especially with their running back now out. Did you mention that? I was zoning
I
out for a little
did.
bit.
No, you're good. Yeah, I mentioned he went out with the ankle and then placed on IR. I think it's worth mentioning to the point of the Chargers not putting up any more points. There was a drive that was already starting, kind of backed up to their own end zone, and then they converted the first down on 1st and 10 penalty, and then it was like 2nd and 19 or 1st and 19 or something
Hmm.
ridiculous. And then Keenan Allen converted that on that like very next play. They were able to eat up a huge chunk of the field. And then there was another penalty, and so then they're at like 2nd and 29 or something ridiculous like that. That that stalls their drive. I really think with their offensive line and the shape it is, I'm worried about the Chargers being able to perform. And I wonder if a team with an underperforming record, maybe with a veteran O lineman, maybe the Chargers make a phone call. Um, Titans have Kevin Zeitler at right guard right now. He seems like someone who you could maybe send a late round pick for and have some solidity on the interior if you have to move inside guys outside. But yeah, the Commanders took advantage of what was in front of them, and I think that's all you can do. So definitely a solid win for sure. If they can do this kind of play for 4 quarters, I think the Commanders are going to be really consistently strong for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are going to have to do like Patrick Mahomes 3 years ago, where he's just running for his life every play and throwing the ball. That's what Justin Herbert's going to have to do for them to have success, probably. Um, for the time
Yeah.
being, and then yeah, the Commanders look solid with Jaden back under center. Glad he's back and healthy. So that's
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's needed and probably took him this game to maybe get adjusted to everything and so we will see him even more high flying, especially some of their wide receivers come back down the line. So,
Yeah, I'm glad you had that game as your wheel game. I had a game. Another
yeah.
wheel game
Yeah.
for Damon. Another great game for me. I wonder if I'll ever get a good wheel game. I'm not sure. But this is what I had this week. I had the Texans. They played the Ravens, both 1-3 coming into this contest. I wouldn't have predicted that at the start of the season if you asked me. And it was an absolute slaughter. 44 to 10. The Texans crushed the Ravens at home. Here's a reminder for the listener, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, their starting defensive tackle, uh, Namdi Matabuike. Did I do that? I don't know. That's a hard name, man. Out for the season with a neck injury. Aside from that, in this game, other people that were inactive. Of course, quarterback Lamar Jackson, he may be inactive this upcoming week as well. Starting left tackle Roddy Stanley, linebacker Roquan Smith, corners Marlon Humphrey, Chidobe Awuzie, also Nate Wiggins carted off with an injury last week. So they're three starting corners. And their highest paid safety in NFL history, Kyle Hamilton. So the defense did not have a lot going on in this game. They could not stop the Texans for anything. This is definitely a kind of back-to-back get right week for the Texans after an 0-3 start against a pretty weak Titans team and now against a very banged up Ravens team. They do go into their bye this week, which is interesting because I feel like it may kill their momentum a little bit. But I think they needed these offensive performances. Really, I couldn't give you a ton of elite observation. It was just like, man, the Ravens defense is horrible, and the Texans are doing whatever they want, not stopping CJ Stroud. He was very efficient, like 20 passes, 4 touchdowns, just killing them with Nico Collins and those guys. After the game, because their defense was so bad, CJ Gardner Johnson, formerly of the Texans earlier this season, signed with the Ravens practice squad, so he may suit up for them pretty soon here. And they also traded a former first round pick, I believe, Edge Odafe Owe. Don't know how to say that name. And a Rams 2027 seventh round pick to the Chargers for safety, Alohi Gilman, and a 2026 sixth round pick. So with Hamilton out, and if he's going to continue to be out, that gives them a little more safety depth. We will see. A couple of jarring numbers in this game that I have for you. You got a stat for me. How many first downs do you think the Texans had in this game?
I think I saw this by accident because my phone, when I was looking at docs on my phone, it doesn't have the highlight for some reason. Was it like
Wow.
27?
27 first downs. That's a lot of first downs.
That is a lot of first downs. Yeah.
Especially considering the snap count. Do you have any idea how many snaps either team took? Did you get a peek at that as well?
I saw like the number 60, but I don't know whose snap count that was. So
Yeah, the Texans had 60 snaps, 27 first downs. So almost half of their snaps resulted in a first down in this game.
that is insane. Yeah.
The Ravens with a total of 40 snaps. So, I'm sorry, 66. I misread that. 66 snaps. So less than half, but Ravens had 40, way more snaps for them. Obviously, Cooper Rush looked pretty abysmal as the Ravens quarterback. I imagine we may see some Tyler Huntley soon if that continues to be the case and Lamar continues to be out. But yeah, honestly, not a lot of great observations I can give you for either team. The Ravens were banged up on both sides of the ball. The Texans kind of did whatever they wanted. CJ Stroud looked very comfortable. I think ultimately the biggest takeaway is this plus the Titans win last week. I think has the potential to turn the Texans season around just because it may instill them with some confidence that I don't think they had in their first three losses of the season. Stroud looked a lot more comfortable. Nico Collins looked like kind of an alpha receiver. Xavier Hutchinson got in on the action as well. Nick Chubb kind of took over the primary ball carrying duties after Woody Marks had a huge week last week. Still worked him in a little bit. But ultimately, they just looked like a unit that knew how to play football, which maybe it wasn't the case the first couple of weeks. And the defense was great, as they've been all season, especially with this backup, that pass rush, getting the Cooper rush time and time again, forcing him to throw the ball quickly. Lots of three and outs for the Ravens, lots of turnovers for the Ravens. I think Cooper Rush had like two or three picks in this game. Um, so yeah, it was a pretty lopsided affair. We were getting garbage time, Davis Mills action in this game. So yeah, not that much relevant information to report. Sorry, listener. Sorry, my wheel game was not that great.
No, I was tracking the score as this one was happening, and like the 10 the Ravens scored is not a real number. Like that was a garbage
Yeah,
time touchdown, right?
yeah.
That
They
was
were up like the Tex. I don't. I. It was like 24-0 pretty early. Like
yeah.
it was rough.
It's hard to walk away from this game and be like, yeah, the Texans are back because their two offensive juggernaut performances are against the Titans and Ravens, but
Right.
if it gives
Right.
them confidence, that means something, right?
The 1-4
And
Ravens.
I guess you could say if the Texans lost to the Ravens in this game, there would be no faith in the Texans anymore, so they at least avoided that, right?
That's fair. Very fair.
Man, let's get you a good game this week, please.
All right. Who plays the Saints? I'm ready. I'm ready for
I don't know.
the game.
The
Yeah,
Saints
well,
are seem kind of fun, you know.
yeah.
Whoever the Cardinals play, if you got to watch Cardinals again, that might be
Uh,
the
that game was fun for the wrong reasons.
correct. Yeah,
And we'll
we'll
get
get to
there.
that.
We'll
Oh
get
man,
there.
what a winner. Uh,
I sorted the relevant and the bogus games. I don't think you moved anything, but you could if you if you wanted to.
there was really only one game that I care about in the bogus games, but I think it's objectively still a bogus game, so we'll talk about it when we get there. But
Fair.
let's start with TNF. Niners
Yeah.
26, Rams 23. Niners winning without quarterback Brock Purdy, wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, and wide receiver Juwan Jennings, who are already stepping up in the absence of wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. And I would love to talk more about this game, but I want to take the next game. So please tell me, tell us more about Niners Rams so I can tee us
Yeah, I
up for
can
the
tell
next
you I
game.
wasn't awake at 8:30 a.m. on Sunday, so I'm glad that you're taking that one from me. Thank you so much. Yeah, Tina, very interesting. Mac Jones, man, he looks good. It's so strange. It's like think about his time with the Patriots and how it was like, okay, we're ready to get the new guy in. And then what is it, three games now he started for the 49ers this season? He's looked pretty respectable in all three. I think this one may be the best. And I think going into this game with these injuries, especially how good the Rams have looked this season, you would think that it was going to be a pretty easy win for them. But no. We had the, I don't know, 2021, 2022 Patriots Mac Jones to Kendrick Bourne connection. Kendrick Bourne had like 10 catches in this game. He was going insane. And then Jake Tonjes also going insane from the tight end position. Like two totally random players that the offense was clicking. And of course, CMC was still awesome for them as well. A lot. That guy is a fantasy cheat code. It's just like, all right, I'm going to have 11 catches out of the backfield, um, which is crazy. Great route runner for the running back position. And then the defense holding their own against a Rams offense that has looked pretty strong, at least in the receiving game. I mean, Kyron Williams kind of ran all over him, but nonetheless, they hold on and take a victory on the road in LA. And I think that surprised a lot of people. And I think this 49ers team and Kyle Shanahan probably gets a lot of credit for this too. Kind of just piecing together victories after victory with the tattered shreds of what was once a Super Bowl contender. And hey, their record would tell you that they're a Super Bowl contender again, despite the amount of backups that are playing. But we'll see if it, how long can the magic continue is I guess what I'm curious about.
I think it's fair to question, considering how this game ended for the Rams with a goal line fumble by Kyron Williams and a subsequent 4th and 1 stop in overtime to give the Niners the win. This wasn't like the Niners, put up 26 and the Rams fought their way back to 23. This was, an absolute battle down to the finish. And the Rams ultimately could have tied the game and continued overtime, but chose to try to stay on the field. It was a pretty exciting finish. Kyron Williams doing a lot for me in fantasy, and then Woody Marks who I begged you to let me pick up off the waiver wire, almost throwing the week for me. Thank you, Woody Marks. Yeah, this was a great game. It was a great testament to Mac Jones' toughness as well. I wasn't watching at the time where he got kind of banged up, but it was clear he was kind of the walking wounded, and he had to give sort of everything he had in his bag to keep them in this game, and was rewarded with a win and shut down any quarterback controversy after the game too. He said, like this is Brock's team. I'm just holding it down for him, trying to get us wins until he can come back. So seems like a class act at teammate as a teammate as well. And I think this has
Right thing to
definitely been a
say.
strong 100%. And I think this has been a good career revival for him. I would not be surprised if Mac was getting a chance to compete for a job somewhere in 2026. Um,
Looked
Maybe not with the expectation that he will start, but
looked good for the
go ahead,
Jags
sorry.
last year too. So this is two seasons in a row where he's coming in for the injured starter and filling the void admirably.
I could see this being a little bit like Daniel Jones in Indianapolis situation where he's put up against a quarterback who's intended to be or hoped to be the starter and then kind of comes out maybe on top of that battle, or at least has a
Bryce
good
Young and
chance
the
to come out on
Panthers
top of
next
that
year.
battle.
Look out, Mac. Look out, Bryce.
Wow,
Mac's coming.
that'd be interesting. I kind of could see that honestly.
Yeah.
I think that would, considering like the perception of the Panthers coach as a guy with offensive background, right? Canales has that offensive background. Steichen in Indianapolis has that offensive background, but the offense maybe being held back by the quarterback in Indianapolis. Could Mac Jones come in and unlock the Canales offense um, the way Daniel Jones did for Steichen? That would be interesting. But these quarterbacks, do they matter? There's only one quarterback in this league besides Jared Goff that I think about, and it's Browns starter Dylan Gabriel, who led the Browns to a 4-point loss at home in London. Vikings 21, Browns 17. Vikings center Ryan Kelly hit IR before this game after getting a second concussion for the season last week. Probably good that he's on IR. I was not up at 8:30. I was up before the first half ended. I love Dylan, but I need my sleep. I will say this. I think I missed the big touchdown pass for him in that first, I think it was the first quarter to Harold Fannin. But he looked competent. I think that there's a difference between a quarterback coming in who looks outclassed by NFL play and a quarterback who looks like they belong or are making sense of what's going on the field. I think Gabriel definitely had control of the situation, and I don't think the Browns have a ton of offensive firepower. I don't think Dylan Gabriel played them out of this game or anything. And it might just speak to where the Browns are offensively, that they put up 17, and the Vikings obviously able to walk away from this game with a win, huge for them, and hopefully they'll get JJ McCarthy back. If not this next week, then I believe they have the Eagles game, and then their
They're
bye
on
might be
bye.
after that.
They're on bye this week.
Yeah, they're on by this week.
After after the
You
back-to-back
are
international games, they are on bye.
Oh, you are so right. You're so that's right. Oh, their bye, maybe that would give them a chance, but I think the Eagles game comes up. Anyway, all of this to say, for us Dylan Gabriel lovers, it's not like he lit it up with 400 yards and four or anything, but I thought it was a really competent start from a sixth-year college veteran who has the most touchdowns in NCAA history uh, for the QB position there. So this, in fact, instilled some confidence in the Browns clearly because the Browns unloaded Joe Flacco, sending Flacco and a sixth to the Cincinnati Bengals for a fifth round pick. And I had heard one of the podcasts I listened to, Heed the Call, Rich Eisen, something like that, talking about how the Lions had sparked a changing quarterback for the Browns. And then they were like, will this happen for the Bengals? Oh, Browns and Bengals, Lions playing back to back. Then turns out they change their quarterbacks after each of those games. And that sixth round pick being sent by the Browns was originally the Lions pick in the Za'Darius Smith trade. just kind of a funny cherry on top of a sort of bizarre situation. I didn't realize the Lions played AFC North opponents 3 weeks in a row, but that's exactly what happened there.
Yeah.
And it's a sign of confidence in Dylan Gabriel. And I think he earned that with his competent, relatively mistake-free play. This put Shedeur Sanders in the number two quarterback spot, which I'm sure there is plenty to be talked about in national outlets. But here on this podcast, we respect the king at the top of the depth chart, and that's DG.
Yeah, DG. Those are my initials too. Um, I,
That's
you know,
why do
do
you
the
think I feel such a kindred connection to Dylan Gabriel?
yeah, maybe that's it. I think that are the Ravens going to make a quarterback change? To your point, no more Cooper Rush after after his abysmal performance. Lions 3 weeks in a row, he did it again. Who do we play this week? I don't know. They'll change their quarterback after, I'm sure. We play the Chiefs, so I don't think that's going to happen. But you know,
I would be surprised to see the Chiefs move on from Mahomes, but I guess anything's possible.
yeah, I don't. I guess that's pretty unlikely. But yeah, I want to shout out Jordan Addison had a clutch touchdown catch, hard kind of corner end zone, hitting the pylon on the way out, that kind of deal. With the game down the line. So that was nice. That's really the only moment I caught of this game, the end, because I was awake by then. Um, so that was cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not surprised, I guess, that Dylan Gabriel is competent with how long he played in college. But I feel like so many young quarterbacks lately just get out there and it's like that guy has no idea what's going on. And it didn't seem like that was the case. So that's a nice start.
Yeah. Rooting for him big time. Next game we've got on our list here, Panthers 27, Dolphins 24 in an explosive game for everyone's top running back, right?
Yeah, and a guy I picked up on the waiver wire and plugged into my lineup to drop 170 in fantasy. So that was pretty good. Gave Kayla her first loss of the season, which felt nice.
Yeah.
Um,
How many points did
yeah,
he put up individually?
he had like 32 fantasy points.
Wow.
And the
Legendary
name we're
Rico Dowdle.
alluding to, yeah, Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard out
Sorry,
for this
sorry,
game.
yes.
Yeah, you're good. Chuba Hubbard was out with the calf injury. Rico Dowdle filled in and amazingly had a 200 plus rushing yards. I think it was like 206, two touchdown performance to bring the Panthers back into a game in which they were down 17-0 early in the second quarter. So you would think the running back is not going to be the one that brings us back. We're going to throw the ball. No, Rico Dowdle just running all over a pretty atrocious Dolphins offense. Dolphins just totally let go of this game, and the Panthers clawed back in and back in and back in. The end of this game was super ugly. Kind of like for a while it was 17-0, then it was 17-10, and then they kind of went back and forth near the end with touchdowns trading off. Panthers ultimately come out on top. Dolphins blow a 17-point lead. Honestly, surprised Mike McDaniel hasn't been fired at this point. Feels like it should just happen. I know he's not working with the greatest, assets over there with all the injuries they have in their secondary. Tyreek's out for the season. I get all that, but God, it looks ugly if you're a Dolphins fan. It is not promising after what they got their first victory Monday night against the Jets last week, and then having a game where you lose against the Panthers when you are up by a lot is tough. Tough.
Yeah, I
Tough, tough.
think you're not expecting to lose to Dowdle on the ground there, especially to that degree. And I don't think the Panthers have a track record of being the kind of team this season to put up that performance. I think 30-0 against the Falcons feels a bit like a mirage. I'm not necessarily buying a ton of Panther stock now. This might just be kind of the last nail in the coffin for the Dolphins, who look competitive against the Bills a few weeks ago, but dropping this game really difficult. I actually was watching this one at the end, and the Charlotte Hornets, two-man game crossover here, play-by-play guy Eric Collins steps into this game, and he was the play-by-play guy, and he had more energy than I've ever seen from a play-by-play caller. It was insane. I don't know if you saw any of his highlights calling the game, but I believed that he put his life savings into the Panthers winning this game because
Mm.
every run, catch didn't matter. I saw a highlight reel later. I guess the Dolphins he was this hyped for as well, but he was screaming Rico Dowdle's name. Jimmy Horn. He's just touchdown. The loudest, most expressive, most intense calls I've ever seen. Genuinely, just so invested in this contest as though its winner shall go on to like represent us in like the Galactic Senate or something. Like this is going to determine the course of humanity itself. It was so impassioned from someone who doesn't traditionally do football games. And honestly, I kind of loved it. I think, especially in a game with two teams that no one was invested in whatsoever, I think, besides obviously the fan bases they care, but like on a national level, we weren't really looking at this game as super significant. But then you have someone coming in, treating every moment like it's season defining for the league. I thought it was really exciting. And for the basketball fans out there, the Hornets might be a must listen at least once this
Hornets
season. I want to know if
have
he
famously
is
have a great group of commentators, so I'm not surprised to hear that at all.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say not a great team, but I'm not surprised to hear that they're popular because when you get someone who cares that much, especially I feel like having to I'm sorry, Jonathan Vilma, but I've had to listen to this guy like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. He was doing the London game, he was doing my wheel game, Bucks, Jets, and just nothing, right? Nothing from that team. And then here comes someone who pours electricity into Panthers Dolphins. Come on, let's get a little bit more of this around the league. I want to see this intensity. It was epic.
Yeah, I like him a lot, and I don't remember the name of their other guy. They make a great pairing, the play-by-play and kind of color commentary analysts in basketball. A lot of the local commentators, like the per team commentators, are really fun, and it is nice to get that change of energy there. So glad that that happened. Yeah, a lot of NFL commentators, I'm just kind of like, okay, all right, whatever. It's like I usually am rolling my eyes about something, but glad that wasn't the case for this. An electric game between two mediocre squads.
Yeah, no doubt. And then our next game, pretty much exact opposite. There was electricity for sure, but these two squads had much higher expectations going into the season.
Yeah. Me? You want me to do it? Okay.
Do it.
The Broncos put up 21 to defeat the Eagles at home in Philadelphia, hand them their first loss of the season. I believe the stat I mentioned last week was like they are 19 and 1 or 20 and 1 in their last 21 games. Now that number is 2, not 1, because they have received another loss. And honestly, they were up most of the game. The Broncos scored 18 points in the fourth quarter to come back and win this game after the Eagles were up 17-3 for a majority of it. So that's pretty brutal if you're an Eagles fan to see your team who just won the Super Bowl and are undefeated on the season give up a big lead like that down the stretch. It's not a game I caught a ton of, honestly. I can't remember if it was running concurrent with my amazing Houston versus Baltimore game that I had to watch, or if it was the Lions game. One of the two were occurring, and I was like not paying that much attention, even though these are two squads with heavy expectations. Um, Eagles offense still looks kind of bleh right now. I would say like the way they're operating or the way they have operated so far this season. It's almost like a little bit of malaise, you know. They're just kind of coasting until they need to kick it into gear after coming off the Super Bowl, which makes sense. And maybe this will give them that push to kind of turn it up a little bit because it just feels like they're kind of whatevering their way to victories, and they've all been relatively close victories. This one, a loss. So maybe they change it up a little bit now. Broncos look pretty good from what I saw, though. Bo Nix had a solid game in his own right. J.K. Dobbins still looks like the guy there. Not R.J. Harvey time just yet, but he did get a little more usage. I think his use was kind of bumped up a little bit per week. Um, and yeah, ultimately a good game at the end, but most of it was pretty uninteresting.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I was also just really kind of uninvested in the result. I'm not uninvested in the result, but like the process of the game just seemed kind of sluggish and low scoring compared to some of the other contests. I think, you we'll talk about Bucks Seahawks, but that had a lot to it. The well-defined comeback element to Panthers Dolphins even, and here were just two teams we expected to play well who did in some respects and didn't in other respects. I did go back, and YouTube TV has this key plays feature where it'll filter for the most important plays, some of which maybe didn't need to make the cut. But my impression is that what got the Eagles' offense moving was a couple deep shots. One went to Devonta Smith, and then Saquon was able to break free on another kind of sideline catch and sort of elude his defender and run for a touchdown. I'm worried about the sustainability of the Eagles' offense as currently constructed. I think when most of your points are coming off of big shot plays like that, you want more consistency. You want to be able to control the clock. Um, and those deep breakaway plays, those explosives are a great part of an offense. They're a good thing to have. But to me, once you're an offense that can move, 8 to 12 yards every three plays with consistency, that's what I really start to feel like the team is stronger. And it just seems like there have been hurdles to that. Obviously, they almost let the Bucks steal a game from them last week. Broncos do steal this game with probably a much more complete overall effort. They're able to fight their way back into the game and then ultimately win. And what surprised me as I was watching back is I at first had forgotten they scored 21, but it was 18-17 with 7 minutes left in the fourth. It's not like they got ahead at the last second
Hmm.
and then the Eagles didn't have a chance to respond. The Eagles definitely had a chance to respond to the 1 point lead the Broncos took following a 2 point conversion. They just couldn't and didn't. So interesting to see them fall flat in the final frame like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the weird week for both teams, really. I don't know if this gives the Broncos some momentum going forward. But honestly, Broncos Eagles 21-17 should be exciting. I was so much more excited about the outcome of Titans Cardinals. So why don't you tell me about that?
Titans Cardinals is one of the great games of our time. Uh, So a lot to pour into this, right? I'll just say first off, running back Trey Benson goes on IR following James Conner, who's out for the season, putting Amari DeMarcado in as running back number one. The Cardinals
With
were,
Michael Carter, a little Michael Carter in there too.
oh well, yes, little Michael Carter. I believe what Zonovan Knight is on that roster as well. Uh,
Yeah, bam. Lions legend.
yeah, Bam Knight, baby. Jets and Lions legend Bam Knight. So Cardinals are up 21-6 in the fourth in a game against the 0-4 Titans in Arizona. No reason for the Cardinals to lose this game. And then some nonsense happens. Okay. What I believe happened first, because it would have put them up 28-6, was Amari
Hmm.
DeMarcado, the aforementioned new RB1, who's been on the roster, but steps into the top spot, rumbles for 70 plus yards on the ground, ready to walk in for a touchdown. Started that celly just about 5 inches too soon, though, and loses control of the football, crossing the goal line, fumble out of the back of the end zone, Titans ball, still a two-score game.
Second week in a
Woo!
row.
Second week in the row this has happened, and I one of the shows I was listening to, the Colts, who had one 2 weeks ago, and the Cardinals, I believe, play this week. So it is a battle of the goal line drops here,
Right.
which is awesome. It's pretty funny. Less funny, less amusing. Their head coach of the Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon, was fined $100,000 by the team because he kind of took a swipe at DeMarcado after he was laying into them for that mistake. And as you mentioned here, the first coach fined since Bruce Arians fined by the NFL for something similar in 2022. And when your head coach is being fined by the team, that puts a lot of doubt into your mind. But granted, if they still went on and won this game, we're probably not talking about it too much. But Cam Ward, first overall pick and tactical genius, recognized, I'm sure on film, that one of the defenders had a tendency to fumble. And so he threw an interception. The
He got tipped.
defender,
Tipped to the interception.
okay, got tipped because, I mean, again, he aimed for the hand of the defender such that it would be tipped
Right.
so that it is intercepted by the opposing team. He then believes he's on fire, I think. So he stops, drops, and rolls
Right.
bizarrely instead of just like taking a knee. The ball pops out as he does this. The Cardinals have it bounce off their shoes into the end zone where former Seahawks legend, current Titans legend, wide receiver Tyler Lockett falls on the ball. Titans touchdown. And the Titans are suddenly in this game. And then Titans scored again. Titans 22, Cardinals 21 in Arizona. You can't do it, man. You can't do this. The Titans are really bad. They're so bad.
This
And you
is
were
a
winning by 15 fourth
Somebody has to get
quarter.
fired
Crazy.
after this. Somebody has to be punished severely for the result of this game down the stretch. Just two absolute bonehead mistakes that give the Titans a window they should have never had to come back. You mentioned the fumble. I did want to shout out L'Jarius Sneed. I know he hasn't had a great Titans tenure, but he did chase DeMarcado all the way down to the end zone and kind of swiped at him. I don't think he hit him and made him fumble, but like he hustled the whole time, and then the ball went out the back of the end
Mhm.
zone, and the ref originally was like touchdown, and he was like, no, he dropped that ball. Like look at it, and I'm sure they were gonna look at it anyways, but like props to him for kind of keeping with the play that whole time. Um, and then yeah, the tipped pass, interception, fall on the ground, fumble, kick into the end zone was it just like one of the most insane plays that I've ever watched. At first, I thought they were gonna say it wasn't intercepted because he fell down and the ball came out, but he really just falls down, no contact, so he's not down, no one's touched him, but he just hit the ground so hard the ball kind of shot out. Just silly business going on in Arizona. Somebody do something. Somebody figure something out with this team.
I'm reminded of last season when Matt Eberflus, former head coach of the Bears, gave up a Hail Mary to Washington in which one of the defensive backs who was supposed to be the like guy in the back making sure that no one catches it once it bops over the initial group is just like talking and taunting the Commanders fans up there in the red zone. It's like barely engaged in the play. Commanders score. Chicago loses going into the bye. And then the team just loses all momentum. This feels like that for the Cardinals. And I would not be surprised if both of these teams had a new head coach in 2026.
Or before. Because yikes.
I mean, yeah, I think the Titans are still very much at risk. If this is a 1-10 team in 5 weeks, I could see this being a pull the plug, in week 13 situation. I think Gannon maybe has enough goodwill to ride out the season, but
Another team find
this is
him.
just an
So
ugly,
I didn't
yeah.
even know teams could find him. I thought it was a league thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's something that we see maybe more often with players where they might get fined or actually, speaking of this, Vikings Browns go ahead touchdown scored by Jordan Addison, who didn't play in the first half, or at least the first quarter, because he had missed I think like a walkthrough. And so the team benched him in the first half as a punishment, and then he comes back and obviously is the deciding factor in Vikings
Yeah.
Browns because of course. But yeah, finding your own coach is a poor sign. It might have also happened
They also
this
talked about it on the
offseason
broadcast.
when
I wonder if it doesn't happen if they don't talk about it on the broadcast because they showed like him getting into him and like yeah, you mentioned the swipe. And he punches his shoulder pad basically as he's walking away. And then they talked about it on the broadcast. I wonder if it doesn't
yeah.
become national news if they care as much.
Yeah, I mean I in general I think it should be. I think anytime you lay hands on a player aggressively, it's just not the precedent you want to set as a coach.
Yeah.
And you can't suspend the coach as a team, really. I don't see a case where they do that. So, maybe you're just trying to reinforce his own message. And he apologized for it, I think rightly so. And either way, when
He
you're
doubles
finding
down.
your head coach, um, yeah, they sent me the fine, and I'm so pissed, man. Cardinals are red because they're angry, just like me. No, I think either way, unless the Cardinals start putting together just losing multiple close games, back to back to back, it's really challenging for a team to overcome that. Uh, they are now 2-3, unless I'm mistaken, and
Yeah.
in a highly competitive NFC West. Although uh, the Seahawks did not have a fully successful weekend.
Yeah, this is a great game. The Buccaneers 38 against the Seahawks 35 in Seattle. Maybe one of the best uniform matchups we've ever seen. The Bucks rock the old creamsicle all whites. The Seahawks rock their retro like light blue and neon green, gray fit. Great jersey matchup. Loved that. Ultimately a really good game. A nice shootout between both teams here. Worth mentioning, running back Bucky Irving did miss the game, sprained left foot, and apparently a shoulder injury too that wasn't really on the radar when the foot thing happened. Both offenses kind of went back and forth. Mecca Igbukwe looking great still for the Bucks. He's been their best receiver this year, honestly, which is kind of crazy to say with a team that has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, which both have missed games with injury, but he has looked consistent time and time again. And Rashad White, I think, held his own in the backfield with Bucky Irving's absence. Baker Mayfield looked awesome for pretty much all of this game. He continues to be a dog for them and kind of I think, a cultural identity for that team. Really rallies his troops behind him. But on the other end, too, Sam Darnold. He's real. Said it last week. I think he's real. He had another like game where I'm like, this guy's a real quarterback. After a year and a half almost, I finally believe that he can actually do it. Because the Vikings year, I think a lot of people thought was a Kevin O'Connell thing, rightfully so. That guy's a really good coach, but um, these last two games have both been great Sam Darnold games, even if they didn't win this one. Their backfield is still really split, which is strange to me because I think Kenneth Walker's probably better, but I think Zach Charbonnet does what he's told. And I guess this way, neither of them get injured. That was a problem last season. I get that. I've already talked about Jason before and how awesome he looks. Not a lot of defense in this game, obviously, with the final score of 38-35. And in classic Buck fashion this season, they win again at the last second. They go ahead and take that kind of, I don't know if it was in the last minute, but pretty close to the end of the game score to ultimately put the Seahawks away in what was a pretty fun offensive affair.
Yeah, I wasn't watching this one. I did go back for the highlights because everyone who talked about it was like, oh, this game ruled. This felt like a kind of early mid-teens true shootout where you just kind of have like big wide receiver on big as in like, you know, really talented wide receiver on really talented wide receiver just gashing the field left and right. Smith and Jigba and Igbukwe battling to be alongside obviously Sam and Baker playing really well. Just like bomb after bomb after bomb. And it looked like just a really fun one start to finish. And I think this is one of those where both teams can walk away. And obviously the Bucks won, but I don't think the Seahawks need to be disappointed in what happened or disappointed in themselves for what happened. Just a battle between two great teams who I think are definitely establishing themselves as in that NFC playoff conversation. Buccaneers obviously leading their division, but the Seahawks even being behind the 49ers, still looking like a really strong team. So really fun game, really fun result. Perhaps not the most unexpected because people were rumbling about it, but a truly surprising result. Final undefeated team of the season fell on Sunday Night Football. Divisional matchup. Patriots 23, Bills 20 in New York, in Buffalo. So this is the Patriots on the road, young quarterback, Drake May. Bills, especially hard to see because the numbers on their uniforms blended way too much with the white on the background. Their rivalry uniforms were
It's
practically
the
impossible to
worst one so
read.
far.
It was tough. It I didn't love the Dolphins one, but it was legible. This one was practically illegible.
Yeah.
Cool idea, bad execution, and not great. Patriots don't come out totally unscathed. Their running back Antonio Gibson tore his ACL and is out for the season, but it seemed like the Drake May Stephon Diggs connection was looking strong near the end of the game,
In the
which
return to Buffalo,
I
you
was
love
able
to
to
see it.
watch. Yep. Oh yeah, no, the Stephon Diggs revenge game. The Patriots put on a performance that was forcing me to sweat out fantasy on Monday night. Thanks, guys. As I was up against both Stefon Diggs and Ramondre Stevenson, and I check in for one of the last drives of the game, and it's Stefon Diggs, big catch, Ramondre Stevenson rushing touchdown. I was like, okay, sweet, perfect.
Ramondre Stevenson had like
So
four carries and two of them were touchdowns. Because he also lost a fumble pretty early in this game.
because of course, either way, I mean, it just looked like in the part of the game I managed to watch, it just seemed like Dre tough, hanging in there, slinging it, and you've got to be happy that the Bills managed to, or sorry, you got to be happy that the Patriots managed to hold the Bills to only 20.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers for Josh Allen. I mean, not uncharacteristic. I think he had that reputation early in his career, but lost a fumble early, threw a pick as well. Felt like the offense was kind of rattled after that. And Drake May played really good football. I don't think he was responsible for any of their touchdowns. I think they were all rushing touchdowns, but he did a good job kind of getting their offense up and down the field with his legs and his arm. You mentioned the Diggs connection coming off that ACL. He's looking like he's almost fully ready to go. I think he's been kind of ramping up over the weeks, and what a great game for him to kind of bust out nationally televised division game, undefeated opponent, upset, even if some people called it still an upset, obviously.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel more confidence now in my prediction for the Patriots to go. I think I said 9-8,
Yeah.
and they are they are currently performing pretty well. I believe they dropped their first game, but they should be 3-2 now, and looking competitive there.
Tell you what, I'm
Another
not confident
surprising
in.
division could go.
I said I'm not confident in Monday Night Football. Is what I mean by that is I predicted famously the Jaguars having a pretty subpar season. I think 5-12 or something like that. And yet another week for ham_04 on Instagram to comment immediately after the game saying another W on our Instagram reel that I posted about the AFC South 4 weeks ago because he has been doing that every time the Jaguars win. And I have to respond every time and say, you're right. But what a funny game this was. Chiefs go up 14-0 pretty early on. They look like they have all the momentum in Jacksonville. And then Jags have kind of two just unanswered touchdowns, tie game, third quarter, Chiefs are driving, everything looks normal, and then bam, Devin Lloyd picks the ball from Patrick Mahomes pretty much right at the goal line. 99-yard pick six really flipped the momentum in this game, gave the Jaguars what they needed. That was a fun play to watch. And then at the end of the game, um, Chiefs score again. They go up. The Jaguars have some amount of time, not a lot of time. I think they also didn't have all their timeouts because they had a couple of times in this game they almost had delays of game, and they did have some delay of games as well. They kept using their timeouts for that. Um, so they were rushing up the field, and on a pretty insane play, they hike the ball to Trevor Lawrence. He trips immediately, falls down, but the pass protection is really, really good. And then he is able to get up and then kind of just waltz into the end zone for a touchdown that ultimately seals the victory for the Jaguars. It was a really silly play. Earlier in the game, he had a QB sneak that he fumbled on the top of the goal line. Um, that did not work. So he kind of redeemed himself here. It was the most Jaguars way to win, falling down and then scrambling for a touchdown. Jaguars now 4-1 for the first time since 2007, which is kind of crazy. Hot start for them and Liam Cohen, my runner-up pick for Coach of the Year, even though I said the Jaguars were going to win five total games. So that's good for them. Chiefs fall 3-2. I don't think there's anything really to take away from this game for them. Like it all seemed pretty standard. I thought Mahomes was good. I think you know what? I think their running game is terrible. I'll say that. Pacheco and Kareem Hunt don't look
I think
great. I
Mahomes
believe
is their leading rusher, right?
Mahomes was their leading rusher for this game, and he probably is for the season. For what it's worth, Trevor Lawrence was the Jaguars' leading rusher this game too. So not great rushing from either side, it seems.
Mhm.
And there was kind of a controversial touchdown for Travis Kelce. Juju Smith-Schuster basically like set a screen a yard off the line of scrimmage to get Travis Kelce opened for a touchdown, and there was a flag, and then all the Chiefs players ran up with like one finger out, saying 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard. We get 1 yard to do that, or whatever. And then they waved off the flag, and I don't remember who it was, but they always have a guy on standby for referees and rules and stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, that should have been a flag. That flag should have held." He can't do that. But alas, the Jaguars, I honestly think played a way better game than a 3-point win. It did feel a little waved in Chiefs' favor in terms of officiating, but I feel like that and you could see that basically any game. So I don't want to harp too much on that. You look like you're gonna comment. Do you want to comment?
Oh, well, I was just going to say it looks like both our favorite English teacher and favorite gym teacher took an L this week. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for all the Swifties in the chat, I don't know if you were following the release of her new album, but I think
Heard
there's
it's
kind of
bad.
a universal, not, I heard it, yes. Um, yeah, that's the sort of takeaway is yikes. And having looked at some of
Tough.
the lyrics, and I will say this, and you know this, I had a student who was a huge Swiftie,
Sure.
so I tried to kind of let go of my bias and respect their enjoyment of Swift, but some of those lyrics, man,
Did you read the lyrics
pretty
to Wood?
rough.
Is that what you're
And
referring to?
I mean, among others, that one was challenging to the ear for sure.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. So I guess maybe that's a maybe a W for try. I don't want to
It's
dwell on
it's a
it.
W for us, that's for
I don't know if
sure.
it's a W for content creators, no doubt. Uh, I don't know if you mentioned tight end Brenton Strange of the Jags was placed on IR after the game.
I did not.
Um,
Yeah, he exited pretty early in
but
this one.
yeah, this was the thing that I went back and watched this game later. I had D&D Monday night, so I wasn't able to watch live. Trevor Lawrence looked so unbelievably hype after scoring that touchdown, and I think that's the kind of buy-in you want to see from a quarterback who there's been some questions about just whether he's the guy. Um, and he's certainly playing pretty well. He's playing motivated, and if they can really take the feeling from this win and carry that on to some lesser opponents, then yeah, I think we're looking at the Jags as a wild card contender, if not a division contender, up there at 4-1 with the Colts.
Yeah, surprising. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought the Colts and Jaguars were going to be leading this division after 5 weeks, of course, just as predicted.
That's how we drew it up. Yep, that's how we drew it up. Uh,
Tough.
um, all right, let's get into our bogus games.
Not that many
I
this week. A
I
lot of
had
good
no
games.
a lot of good games or a lot of meaningful results. And I would say the second game we have on our list here, depending on your point of view, could have been a non bogus contest here. But this first one, I will be honest, is completely memory hold for me. Uh, Cowboys 37 at Jets 22. The only thing I truly know about this game is that Jerry Jones is fined 250K for flicking off the fans, and he called his actions, quote, unfortunate, said he was trying to point to Cowboys fans and like used the wrong finger or something. Whatever.
Okay.
250K is a drop in the bucket for Jerry Jones, and 22 is an artificial number for the Jets. The Cowboys, from what it looked like, owned this game from start to finish.
Yeah, Jets had a lot of garbage time offense here. So 15-point win is actually much closer than the game really was. So
Yeah.
totally memorable, but shout out Justin Fields giving me some garbage time fantasy points. You love to see it.
Yeah, way to step up, Justin. It's tough. I think the Jets. I believe Aaron Glenn is now the first 0-5 Jets coach ever in his first five starts, and so
Hey, that's my sleeper coach of the year right there. Don't talk about him like that.
don't wake him up. Don't wake him up because that sleeper is zonked.
I feel like they've had
Uh,
so many like results like this. I'm like not that surprised by, but I feel like they've had like 2 or 3 games when it's like, yeah, they could have won that.
Steelers Jets winnable.
Hmm.
Dolphins Jets mega winnable. Should have won. Uh,
Hmm.
the Dolphins, yeah. I mean, I think if the Jets didn't jet, then the Dolphins would be winless right now. So brutal there.
Only winless
Much
team
more interesting
still?
game. Only winless team. You know why? The Saints topple the Giants 26-14. If you were a Catholic, what a great Sunday. Go to Mass, come home, get a massive win for the Saints. Giants turning the ball over a ton, allowing the Saints to come back. Did you look at the drive chart for this game?
I did not. I know there was a lot of turnovers, so I'll go ahead and guess here. Six drives, huh? Can I guess the results?
Go
Um,
try. Yeah, let's see it.
yeah, this obviously won't be in order. I'm gonna do something like interception, punt, fumble, interception, punt, punt.
Oh, how generous you are to the Giants. Starting from their last drive of this from their last drive of the second quarter on.
Oh man.
Fumble.
Okay.
Fumble.
Okay.
So fumble, fumble.
Yeah, I
That's
only
two.
had one fumble.
Fumble
Okay.
return for touchdown.
Oh wow.
Three straight drives ending in fumbles. Third one goes for touchdown. Interception, interception, turnover on
Yes.
downs.
That makes sense. I should have
Fumble,
guessed the
fumble,
turnover on
fumble,
downs
pick
with
six.
the trying to come back late in the game. That make no punts in the six drives is crazy.
Yeah, yeah, you were. I was like, oh man, if you just guess a ton of turnovers, this isn't going to be a very fun reveal. And then you said punt, and I was like, oh, we're good.
All right.
This is
My
this is a
bad.
tough one. See, yeah, I mean, who would expect quite a self detonation to that degree? You just can't win that way, and I think it speaks to where the Saints are that your opponent gives up five turnovers and you're still only beating them by 12. Their kicker Groupie missed two kicks that would have made this a three-score game by the end there. But I mean, obviously the Giants just completely shut off in the second half, and the Saints did enough to get their first win of the season. Your prediction for them is still intact as long as they have no further success.
Let's go winless, baby. Let's do it.
As long as the team doesn't fumble the ball to them three times in a row, I think you're still in okay shape. Uh, uh, but good for Spencer Rattler, who I think had at least 10 starts or something without winning in the NFL. Um, Finally getting a win for a player who I don't think was bad enough to have that kind of record. I'm happy that he's able to get off the schneid, especially someone who has kind of been talked about as maybe a little bit better than people have suggested in the past. So legendary 25-year-old king, or we're basically 2 weeks apart in age. So shout out to a fellow 2000s kid.
Yeah. Shout out Rattler. 2000s kid. I'm just gonna throw up, by the way. I hate that you said that. Anyways. Moving on.
You hate that I said 2000s king there? I was
Yeah.
stalling for
Why you
time
gotta
because
make
I'm,
me
I'm
feel
trying to
like
figure out
that?
how many losses he had as starter. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, it looks like he lost seven starts in 2024, and then obviously lost four more starts. So he might be like 1-11 at this point as a starter.
Let's
Man, you never want to be
go.
winless for that long. Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't think Spencer Rattler is an amazing quarterback, but I don't think he's a quarterback that will bring you 11 straight losses. I think that has more to say about the Saints than anything else. Maybe the most, or I started out with the most. I meant to say the least interesting game of the week. The Colts, the mighty Indianapolis Colts, the dominating Colts, 40 points against the Raiders, six. 6 points. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. So for the Raiders, tight end Brock Bowers did miss this game with a PCL injury and bone bruise on his knees, considered to be week to week. This is after playing, I believe, 3 straight weeks injured. So I feel like he should have already sat out. And now the injury obviously hasn't healed. He's been playing through it, practicing through it, and then they finally make that choice. Um, Colts kicker Spencer Schrader had a season-ending knee injury. I'm not sure how, because I can't say I was watching a lot of this game. But they did sign kicker Michael Badgley to replace him for the rest of the season. I don't. This doesn't mean anything for the Colts. They've looked pretty good all season. This is what you're supposed to do if you're a good team, and they've established themselves to be that. The Raiders. Um, God, I don't know what you do. This is another horrible looking week for Gino and the offense. A pretty rough week, dropping 40 or giving up 40 for your defense. I don't know where to go from here. They look like they're going to be picking number one overall, and I don't know what you take because your team seems to need everything. So I don't know. I know they don't have the worst record technically, or maybe they're like tied for the worst record, but God, they look way worse than every team. And guess what? They play the Titans this week. I can't wait for that game. That's going to be the game I get on the wheel right there. Raiders and Titans. That'll be so fun.
Do they play this week, you said? Oh
I think
wow.
so.
That's yeah, you cursed yourself. I will say I think the Jets are a real contender for that top pick there.
Oh yeah,
Raiders
they're
somehow
they're
won their
actually
first
winless.
game.
So
Yeah. I think it's gonna be, we're gonna see Dolphins, Raiders, Jets, maybe Titans as well, scrambling to see who's at the bottom there. And
Saints.
uh Saints, yep. Could this be a team for Mac Jones in 26 if Gino
See, I
continues to
thought just that when you said it earlier, but Gino's such a veteran, they paid him so much money on a 2-year deal. I feel like it would be you'd be hard pressed to move. And they traded for Kenny Pickett, right? Maybe we start
they
seeing him.
did.
Maybe we see him get some action in there.
I mean, I guess it depends. If Pickett plays well, maybe you've got a backup you can trust if Gino doesn't perform next year. But if Gino just continues to look like, he's melting under the hot sun, maybe you just bring in Mac and it's just an open competition, and then Mac surprises and takes it from Gino or something. I know he and Pete Carroll are really close, but they have looked. I mean, we talked about before the season. I did at least, so you can put this on my face. But uh, I thought we're going to have a higher floor because they had a competent quarterback and a competent coach, and they have looked floorless. They have looked like they can just continue to sink deeper and deeper into their own despair, and hopefully they can find some sort of stability going forward. But I think they have played themselves out of contention this season.
One of my worst offseason moves. That one's looking good.
It was the Gino move?
The Gino signing, yes.
Nice, good for you. Good for you. Especially with the way Darnold's playing right now. I'm sure they wish they could have gotten in on those sweepstakes. But
Yeah.
last game of the
Uh,
week.
ugh. Anyways,
Let's just hit this last game of the week super fast. Lions 37 at the Bengals, putting up only 24. A lot of that coming in the fourth quarter. Lions corner G.J. Reed went on IR before this game, and corner Terrion Arnold will be out with a shoulder injury. Dan Campbell initially said for a long time. The second opinion has that estimate shifted. I heard potentially could be back within the month. This gives to me the vibe of, if he's not put on IR by, Thursday, then yeah, maybe we see him back in 3, 4 weeks. Otherwise, I could totally see him being another guy who goes 4 or 5 weeks on IR. Lions now really looking for more cornerback depth here. A number of their backups, corner Khalil Dorsey on IR, Enos Rakestraw, a second round pick in the same draft as Terrion Arnold last year, already out for the season. So Lions needing some defensive back support, and they owned the Bengals for much of this game, kind of let them get back in it, scored another touchdown to pull away for good, and then Derek Barnes, 55, closes the game with a safety giving the Lions possession back at the end. Really unusual ruling in this game. They attempted an onside free punt because it's like a free kick after the safety to the defensive team that caused the safety. They ruled that for onside, but they placed the ball too far to be in like kind of the onside landing zone. And so as a result, they were required to have a half the distance to the goal penalty that gave the Lions the ball at like the 20 with, you know, a minute and a half left. So it was over. But again, Jake Browning was abysmal in the first half, did not give this team a chance. More going on in the second half, but I imagine the Lions were playing a little more prevent at that point. And again, defense pretty banged up by that point in the game as well. Hence Joe Flacco. I believe I saw a headline that they might try to get him ready to go by Green Bay, which is the Bengals game this weekend. So yeah,
I tell you what, I traded in my other league, not the one I'm in with you. I traded Bijan Robinson, my number one overall pick, for Jamar Chase and Travis Etienne. And it wasn't looking that great until garbage time. Jamar Chase tacked on some garbage time touchdowns. So thank you very much. Made that trade not look so bad. It actually got me the win because I took him from the team I was playing that week.
Wow.
Bijan was on bye, so gave me a much needed win. My team going forward, who knows? But shout out to garbage time touchdowns, really carrying me fantasy in both leagues this week.
I'm shocked that whoever you traded with wouldn't just say, "Yeah, I'll do this deal with you on Tuesday," but worked out for you.
Yeah, I think that was part of the incentive. It's like, I need to win this week, so we got to make it happen now.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about, did you win or lose that trade? I think if Flacco is solid and can deliver to Chase, I actually don't think you're in too bad a shape. I think ETN's a good value pickup. He's not Bijan, but good value pickup for sure. That was week 5.
Five.
We're now on to week 6. That was
Somehow.
awesome. Just forgetting how time works. Yeah, week 6 already. It's been flying by. Uh, so much football to consume, and no games more important for us than our wheel teams. You're getting your team first. I am second. Texans and Vikings both on bye, so they are not options this week. Although we already had the Texans, so not
Yeah.
not a worry either way.
I know I got the wheel set up already. I already took the Vikings off, I believe. I sure didn't. Now I took the Vikings off. I need to put somebody back on here that was on bye last week, I think. And I
I
don't
did Lions,
remember.
Packers, and Falcons, so those are all good. I did Bucks.
I,
Um,
I did the Cards and the Seahawks. You did the Commanders. I did the Raiders. Uh, Maybe it is an odd number, and it's just because the Texans are on bye. I think that's what it is.
yep, I think
Uh,
so. Yeah,
or
because the
because the Vikings
Steelers
are
were
on
on
bye.
bye and the Bears, and yeah, that looks right to me.
All right. My first team. My first team, my only team this week. What am I talking about? Oh, jeez. No. No.
Oh, how about them
No.
Cowboys?
That's right, baby. The Cowboys at Carolina playing the Panthers. Yes, sir. This is the game that I wanted. I'm very happy. Honestly, the Panthers have been so up and down. Like they destroyed the Falcons and then they come back and beat the Dolphins, but then they also got absolutely obliterated by the Patriots in between those two games. So, interested to see what Panthers will get this week. I feel like the Cowboys offense has been clicking on all cylinders, even without CD Lamb against their recent opponents. Is that because their offense is good, or is that because their recent opponents have just had very bad defenses and Dak is competent enough? I'm interested to see. Um,
All right.
yeah,
I am curious to see who I will have this week. Will I ever get a team in the AFC? Who knows? NFC
no,
teams through
you sure
5.
won't. You sure won't.
I'll tell you the truth. I have wanted to watch the Panthers so badly. And I was thinking to myself, I want to wait. I want to see in case I get a really good game. And then maybe I'll offer a trade with Damon. I'll take the Cowboys. You can take whatever team I got. And then I'll get to watch the Panthers. And then I
Yeah.
got an untradeable asset. Not because they're good, but because the New Orleans Saints are not very good. Though, granted, I can actually see who Spencer Rattler is for real, which is kind of exciting. Oh, Patriots at Saints at noon. Woo!
Yeah. At least it's not concurrent with the
Not even
Lions
like
game.
that exciting a pairing of teams on its face. Perhaps the uninitiated would say.
Mm.
I think this has a chance to be a letdown game for the Patriots. They brought 110% to get past the Bills. That to me is a recipe for a team to potentially course correct against a Saints unit that has looked at times competitive. Granted, they probably should have run away with the game against the Giants, but just the week before they played these same Bills the Patriots just beat, close. If Drake May and the Patriots handle the Saints in New Orleans, that's going to tell me that this is a team that can turn it on week in and week out and give me a lot more confidence in their season long prospects. If the Saints can pull out a win here, tells me that they may have something in Spencer Rattler, and they have enough competence from the coaching staff to take advantage of a team that would likely be lagging from a big contest the previous week. With all of that said, I do believe the Patriots will win this game. I think there's minimal upset potential, but I do think there's a sliver. And there's a lot to learn about. Is there anything on the Saints that's worth carrying into the new era, considering how loaded they are with veteran defensive talent, veteran or veteran running back in Kamara? Is this a blow it up team? Do they have some guys? We're going to find out.
Patriots are going to win. That's that's my bold prediction for you right there.
Yeah,
If
that's
if
way
I
to go
may.
out on a limb.
Um, yeah, they look good. That's kind of a pretty black game. I would offer to trade with you. I feel like I've watched the Patriots 3 times already. Like I had the Patriots on the wheel, and then I think I watched somebody else play the Patriots, and I just watched them in prime time. I feel like I watched a lot of Patriots.
If you ever hit the Panthers, I will probably be pretty open to trade whatever team I pick up at that point. So, especially if that time slot doesn't line up with the Lions, which I'll obviously be giving the most focus to, but they are on Sunday Night Football, so they are all alone this week. Let's talk about the big games of the week.
Let's do it. There's honestly, it's a pretty not good slate when I was kind of just mulling over it. So we can pick games and go about it there. I'm gonna start with Seahawks at Jaguars. I'm excited for this game after the Jaguars beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, and the Seahawks have had multiple very close losses, but have looked like a competent, solid team through and through. Do the Jaguars keep their momentum, their winning streak alive? Can the Seahawks kind of bounce back and clutch out a victory? It feels like one of those games that I wouldn't be that surprised at the end if like the Seahawks won 30-12 somehow. But the Jaguars have been playing above their heads, I think, and I'm curious to see if it'll continue. Their defense looks pretty real behind Josh Hines Allen and the rest of those guys over there. I feel like that's been a big issue for some opposing teams. So yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, tons of turnovers for the Jags, which is a variable stat, but I like that they're in Jacksonville and Seattle has to travel to them, not vice versa. I think that gives them a bit of an advantage there. I think going on the road after such a huge win against Kansas City, and I think similar to what we were talking about with the Patriots, can you sustain it after getting that kind of signature win moment against the Chiefs on Monday night? So. That's a good pick for game number one. I'm going to grab a 325er here. Niners at Buccaneers. I think this has a similar vibe to me, where these are two teams who we had belief that they could be good, and might both be playing a little above their skis right now. Niners obviously performing well despite all of these injuries. Can they maintain that? The Bucks obviously playing really, really well. And it seems like in different types of games as well. They snuck away from the Texans in a low scoring game. They beat the Seahawks in a shootout just last week. They continue to eke out game after game after game, hosting the Niners. If the Niners lose and the Seahawks win, suddenly this division has question marks again, right? Rams as well in their game. They might have a chance to take another win, making that a really bunched up division at the top. Buccaneers have some pretty comfortable separation from the rest of their division, I think. And so this might be less important for their overall playoff odds, but it's still going to be a good calibration for what we can expect from them should they make it to the postseason, which I think is reasonable to expect. And I want to see what energy the Bucks are coming to Ford Field with, where I actually will be in about a week and change. Maybe I guess yeah, about a week after that game. So
Yeah, we're
that's
actually
it's a
putting
nice
right after the game wraps. You're going to be on the field, just recording from there. So it's
yeah.
exciting.
I should probably take a picture of Ford Field and then make that my background for one episode as an homage to when Ford Field was my background for every episode. Yeah, I think either way, all this to say, these are two highly competitive one loss squads battling right now to be considered one of the best in the NFC. So compared to some of the stinkers on the schedule here, this one's interesting.
Yeah, I'll take a game that I think can be sneaky good here. The first of a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Bills at Falcons. Bills just
Mm.
lost to the Patriots. I feel like they could be a little rattled. They're on the road, and Atlanta's coming off a bye, and they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. And they know that this is a really tough team. They know exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to kind of game plan for them. So I think the Bills coming in potentially rattled after losing to a Patriots team they think is, inferior to them, and the Falcons kind of gearing up for this moment for several weeks after the Falcons themselves. I mentioned the 30-point blowout loss to the Panthers earlier. Aside from that, have looked relatively competent this year. I wonder, you know, how close is the game ultimately? Like, obviously, I would still think the Bills are going to win this, but if it's a really close game, I feel like that's really telling for both teams. If the Falcons somehow win, I think that's really telling. Or did the Bills have like, I know it was only one loss, but a kind of get right, like, hey, let's get this back on track, um, and just kill the Falcons. I actually don't think that'll happen. I'm interested to see the outcome of this one.
Yeah. Uh, Bijan, if he just has a great game, it can completely change the course of things. Watching the Falcons early in the season, Monday night against the Vikings, that week two game, I think when a team can run well, they can control the clock, and the Falcons could use that as a weapon. But I think the Bills are going to be steaming mad, and I think they're gonna potentially lay the hammer down. I'll actually take. I think there's one game left that's definitely worth discussing, and I'll leave that one to you. Maybe these see two or three. Here's one I'm kind of interested in. Bit of homerism here. Bears at Commanders. And the reason I point this game out, former Lions OC Ben Johnson, now the head coach of the Bears, up against the team that knocked the Lions out of the playoffs last year. And I feel like one of the sort of signature moments of that game was Jameson Williams attempting a pass that was just picked off. And it felt like a moment where we as Lions fans kind of said, is this guy doing too much trickeration? So I wonder if Ben Johnson heard that narrative, internalized that. I mean, he's an adult. I'm sure he can process it well. But all of that to say, I imagine he's going to be a motivated play caller. I think he's going to feel frustrated that the offense wasn't able to do what he wanted it to fully against the Commanders in the playoffs last year. And so I wonder if we're going to see him just try to run a methodical game on offense with Caleb coming off the bye. And if they come off the bye and steal a win against the Commanders, that's great. I think this could also be an opponent that the Commanders, if they're returning to their 2024 form, would be able to comfortably handle. So interesting revenge lens potentially. Also, a battle of the first and second overall pick last year. I feel like you were going to mention that if I didn't bring that up. So that's worth mentioning. And we actually didn't get this battle last year, even though we were supposed to, because if I'm not mistaken, Caleb Williams was hurt for the Bears Commanders matchup last year.
Hmm.
So this is sort of a redo on that game. And actually, it might have been, was it Daniels who was it? One of the quarterbacks was injured. But
No, because
anyway,
this wasn't Commanders Bears didn't Jaden Daniels throw the last second Hail Mary that
of
was
course,
tipped for a
I yes,
touchdown.
we talked about this game. There's a whole nother reason this game matters. That arguably ended the Bears season the way it completely affected morale in the locker room. This game is full of revenge for the coach who wasn't there, the players who were there, the Commanders looking to establish themselves, and the Bears currently looking like an okay team in the NFC. If I had to like pick what seed do I think they'll end in to end the season, probably 8 or 9, right? So you want to be able to handle a team that's 8 or 9 if you're the Commanders and you're hoping to be a playoff juggernaut.
Yeah, they looked Bears will look pretty good the last couple of weeks. I will take Lions Chiefs. There's only 2 games left that I thought were really interesting, and it was the one you just talked about, and it was Lions at Chiefs. Lions, we have looked so good since that week one loss to the Packers. The offense has put up almost 40 points every game. Like we've looked really, really solid. The Chiefs losing to Jacksonville in Jacksonville, but Arrowhead, one of the tougher stadiums, obviously, to play. Perhaps they will be blasting the new Taylor album the whole time. That could affect morale negatively. We'll see how that looks. It's a primetime game. It's a game that I think, after week one when both the Chiefs and Lions lost in, relative dramatic fashion to division rivals, I think this would have mattered a lot more to me then, but the Lions have just looked like the better team since then. That being said, it's still the Chiefs, still Patrick Mahomes, still Andy Reid. Can never take them for granted. They can always pull something out of their sleeve. I actually think that Patrick Mahomes particularly looked very good in their game against the Jaguars, despite the pick six and ultimately the loss. But yeah, never a team you can count out. So going into Arrowhead and getting a victory for the Lions, carrying that momentum forward since the week one loss would be huge. So obviously very excited about that.
Yeah, I want to say it was 2023 week one when the Lions went to Arrowhead for the season opener and won.
Hmm.
And that was not only a great game, I mean, it was a 1 point game, but it was also just a true like moment of arrival for the Lions. And so to have another primetime matchup between these two teams is really exciting. I think the Lions corner depth being decimated gives the Chiefs a way back in on offense. Um, and so I still believe the Lions have everything they need to win this game as long as they're playing up to their ability. I think the Lions have definitively been the better team, more complete team, start to finish. But I am just really excited because I think I have a ton of respect for the Chiefs. I believe this may have been my Super Bowl prediction going into the season. So, Super Bowl preview question mark.
I do think
Gonna
it was the
be
Lions over Chiefs. Yeah, I believe that
yeah.
is what you picked.
So, the Chiefs obviously haven't looked, I would say, quite like a Super Bowl contender, but also not a ton of teams in the AFC that are saying it's us and no one else. So, yeah, if the Chiefs win, hey, they're suddenly back in the conversation. If the Lions win, they're in a really secure place in the NFC, having gone through two of the games that we really viewed as potential question marks. And depending on what you thought of the Bengals, going and beating the Ravens. If you go and beat the Chiefs, you beat the Bengals. Those are three games that looked a lot steeper going into the season. So, yeah, I just think it'll be a really fun game, regardless of my homerism. I think these are two teams that are going to really bring their all against each other. Two really great head coaches, um, and just two really talented staffs. So,
Perhaps we can watch this one together again. That'd be fun.
oh, that's a good call. Yeah, I think that'd actually be a great idea. Maybe we could even get a couple other folks and go out somewhere and do that or
Nah,
something.
I don't like anyone else.
That's so true. That's
Just
true.
kidding.
No, we could maybe work something out on that Sunday, especially both of our games are the 12 o'clock window. So, maybe
Hmm.
we could get, obviously Gabe, a friend of ours, a Packers fan. Maybe we could do a bit of a double feature, Bengals, Packers rolling into Lions, Chiefs if we wanted to really make a day of it. But something to talk about all in due time, depending on our schedules. Let's get our one-liners out of the way. We might actually finish a pod in roughly 2 hours.
It's in lieu of analysis, let's just get through it. I'm talking about
Well, no,
recapping and I'm like, let's just go. What are we talking? We already know the result. Who cares? No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I think a lot of the games for this week are just kind of blah. I think there were a lot of relevant outcomes for last week, but not anything. I think now that we're kind of getting into the flow of things and we're doing this week after week, it's like a lot of the observations I had about a lot of these teams are kind of similar to what I've had in weeks past. So I don't want to just say the same thing over and over again. Um, it's like, at the beginning of the season, it was like, oh, like I saw this thing happen. That was interesting. But now that thing's been happening for 4 weeks in a row, so it's like, we kind of get it now.
yeah, we've definitely formed a stronger impression of the teams that are relevant, the teams that are on the edge of relevance, and the teams that just don't really put a blip on the radar. And so I think it's nice to have that sort of clarity, and it doesn't mean the games can't have interesting results. Obviously, I mean we put Dolphins Panthers in our interesting games of the week, relevant games. So of course it can all matter, but yeah, definitely able to build off of the base of knowledge we've built over previous games now, which is very nice. But I do think we should hit our one-liners here. Would you like to start or should I?
Um, Geez, I'll start. Eagles at Giants. Will Saquon break the rushing record this time that he could have broken last time, but decided not to in a blowout victory in his return to New York? That was a long one-liner.
Um, okay, I've got a killer one for Broncos
There
Jets.
you go.
Hey, did you know Jets general manager Darren? Mohei, I don't know how to say his last name, came from the Broncos front office. Revenge game loading.
That was good. That was good. Chargers at Dolphins. Will Mike McDaniel get fired before, during, or after this game?
That's a good one. That'd be crazy. Uh, Rams at Ravens. There's that scene in the first or second Toy Story where Andy or Woody has a dream sequence where Andy is throwing him away and he's buried in this pile of misfit toys and is sort of sucked into oblivion. And I think that's going to be ESPN and Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. Smith with Ravens dialogue if they don't manage to win this game, just throwing them in the garbage, never to speak of the Ravens again.
Sharp still with ESPN? Didn't he have like a whole
I meant
controversy?
Stephen A. Smith and I said Shannon Sharp, and then I remembered
Okay.
everything that happened with Shannon Sharp. So,
Yeah.
to condense that briefly, Stephen A. Smith and the rest of the NFL complex will have no more to say about the Ravens if they can't prove they're worthy of our attention with a win this week.
All right, I have one for this game too. So let
Please.
me throw it out there real quick. Rams at Ravens, in which Damon Gibson gets his first NFL start because the Ravens defense needs that much help.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
What position would you play on defense?
I was thinking about this because I feel like defensive linemen are way bigger than I give them credit for. Like, yes, they are large, like hefty, but they're also like 6'5". And like I'm like,
Yeah,
how are they such a combination of size and stature? I feel like I would like I also don't know if I'm quite built like a linebacker either. I don't know. I'm between linebacker and safety, but I'm not sure.
you could be a hybrid
I'm
a
not
hybrid.
in shape to do either, but I don't know which one my build leads towards.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a fun like off-season pod is like what careers would we have if we were in football shape? Like what would that take us to?
We're gonna make an
Um,
off-season NFL Combine video.
oh, that would be honestly I feel like that'd be kind of fun. Just to see like, how sad is
Electric.
our vertical, how slow is our 40, right? Um,
Yeah.
like our 14-second three cone or whatever. I think we should do this. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'll take the next one as I was supposed to. Cardinals at Colts. Who will drop the ball before the end zone, and how many times will it happen in this game?
Um, that's, that's, that's probably. I mean, it'd be crazy if it happened again, right? Uh, it would be one of those things where it's just like how. Oh, let me take this game. I wonder what I'll say about this one. Browns Steelers. Dylan Gabriel, welcome home to this land. Now you can finally take your title as greatest quarterback in America.
Great. Yeah. I,
Yeah, epic.
I totally buy into that.
Oh,
Um,
hang on. I got another one. I got another one.
okay. Go ahead. Please, please.
Browns Steelers. MVP quarterback of the past duels MVP quarterback of the future.
That's good.
When Shadur comes in the third quarter. What?
Right.
I
Secret
can't
Shador
I
fan
can't
this
say
whole
anything
time.
level-headed about the Browns right now. I'm so sorry.
How about this? Titans at Raiders in Vegas. Are you a betting man? Because I can bet these two mediocre teams will find a way to make this one interesting with some very subpar and sloppy play.
Uh I have can I give one as well?
Yeah.
Titans Raiders. Man, the second tie of the season is going to go crazy.
Oh, 0-0.
It just doesn't it just feel like this game would end in just the craziest tie you've ever seen? And then we're like, oh, they're both still one-win teams and they're both awful and now they have ugly records.
It's like a
Uh
6-2 victory.
oh, this is the first time in the Super Bowl era that a game has only included safeties where one team has scored more than 4 points. Some crazy
Yeah,
BS like that. Oh my God. Um,
Jesus.
I guess I got the last one because we were big
Yeah.
on Monday night here. Bengals, Packers. If Micah Parsons doesn't have 8 sacks this game, was the trade really worth it?
Mm.
I mean, against Joe Flacco and the Bengals offensive line, I feel like if you're the Packers, you got to feast. If this game is close, what are we doing?
Will Joe Flacco lead a third AFC North team to the promised land?
That would be the most insane thing of all time because he did take the Browns to the playoffs. Wow.
Yeah.
Um, I yeah, I don't know. I feel like we need to make a bet on one of these games, one of these weeks where it's like if this happens, we'll do this. And it's just, just a slop fest. I was just taking a timeout, windy conditions on the field, so our team didn't feel comfortable taking this extra point attempt here.
Icing
Um,
yourself. It's a bold
yeah.
strategy.
Yeah, I'm just cool like that. So lining up for the extra point here. And this is going to send Titans Raiders into overtime if I sink this bad boy. Um,
Amazing, you'll think they'll score a field goal.
like, subscribe, comment, share various opinions, and make sure that our podcast proliferates around the earth. Okay, here we go. Kick is up.
And the point after try is good. I think I couldn't really tell.